Nathan, most of the guys seem to get through training. What can you tell us about those injured guys who got through? Ben Reid was good.
Yeah, so we'll have 4 players that will come back off the injured list and available. So Reedy, Tyson Goldsack, Jesse White and Rupert Wills will all be available for selection this week. So that's a positive. So we've got more coming in than out, and that's always a good sign. But yeah, the training week went relatively smoothly, and off a couple of days off. We've seen it as just a longer lead-in to this game on Saturday, and we've tipped into what we need to, and looking forward to attacking it the second half of the year.
So on that, what's your thinking around changes that you make? Do you make a lot of changes, or do you just with the senior side with this added availability?
Yeah, well, they're the decisions that and the marginal decisions, to be honest, that need to be made. I suppose tall small balance up forward has been something that has shifted and that has been optimal for us at this point. Whether to use Reedy forward or back is clearly a discussion point. When he's up and about and fit, we have the option of doing both. So, and we need to decide whether coming straight back in is the best thing for him in that as well. Goldie's been in our best 22. He's been clearly one of our better tall defenders, so he'll come back into the side. And then the balance of it in and around that is something that sometimes it'll be what the opposition is asking of you, but almost always it's how you're going to play your best footy and how you need to structure up.
So Reed's no guarantee to play AFL at this stage.
Oh,
is that
look,
something
he's likely. He's likely, yeah. But it is a marginal call because we've had some guys that have performed pretty well. I mean, any players that aren't favoured going into the game on Saturday will probably not miss due to form. It'll be just the balance of the side and how we think we're going to best present, which is a pretty good position to be in.
On Reid, and just looking at it from the bigger picture, you get the impression that you'd prefer to play him down back, but sometimes you need to play him up forward for the sake of the side.
Yeah, well, he's an All-Australian defender, and I think the idea of the swing man is a nice bit of armoury to have. It's a nice thing to have in your arsenal. I think that we probably think that Darcy can eventually go forward or back at any point. Howie's been excellent down back, but we know that he could probably hurt up forward at times. Will Hoskin-Elliott's played back and forward this year. Goldie's played a lot of his career as a forward, and is really settling in down back. I think we'd like to specialise. We like to specialise, and we know that it's a fairly adaptable game. There's the midfield's getting bigger and bigger, and the forward lines and back lines are getting smaller. But Reedy is probably one of those bookends that can go both ways. He's clearly proven it as a defender. But his aerial capacity is enticing as a forward.
What's your read on Port Adelaide at the moment?
Oh, look, their first 12 games they've been exceptional. Their percentage is generally a pretty good indicator on what type of football you're playing and the consistency of it. And they've up with Adelaide, they had the strongest percentage for the most part of the front half of the year. They're very good contested ball side. Put good heat and pressure on. They seem to be able to find many different avenues to score, and they're defending really strongly. So they're at the pointy end, and they're going to be a great challenge.
Can you give us an update on Jamie Elliott?
Yeah, Jamie's going pretty well. I suppose we could. We've been a little bit vague with where Jamie's at, and it's hard to put a time frame on when he's coming back because we're still finding out about how quickly it's going to return. I think the Cinder's Moses concerns aren't as significant as his injury pre-season, so we might be looking at more ligament, and that might mean a quicker return. I think he's improved over the last 2 or 3 days and feels like he's ready to start sort of putting weight on it and seeing how that goes over the next week or so. I think it's probably more likely that he'll miss this week and next, and then potentially push for the week after that. But once again, that'll be guided by how he takes the steps along the way.
Then naturally, you mean you've got to be more cautious with him when he's right to go, maybe then give him another week?
Well, it depends how his ankle responds. There's plenty of players that go out with sore ankles and might play at 85, 90%. And that might be because in 3 or 4 weeks' time that'll improve to 95. If you're going to play with a sore ankle but it's only going to go downhill, well then that's a different decision to make. So we clearly want to make the right decision for Jamie, but we clearly think we're a better side with him in it. So it's a balancing act, but we'll make the right call as we go along.
Was Trev Barclay close, and where's Daniel Wells at too?
Varks is not this week, maybe next, and Wellesy's still working back. Still building his load and building strength in the calf. It was a gastroc tear, which he's mainly torn his soleus at times. Or had little aggravations in his soleus. So the gastroc's a bigger muscle, but not necessarily a greater issue. But it's probably we've gone a little bit slower at the front end.
What's your thoughts on AFLX and making players available for it? I suppose State of Origin we don't have. But this is obviously taking players away from clubs.
I don't have an opinion on it. I haven't spent a whole lot of time on it, so when I do, I'll let you know, mate.
So potentially, if the club doesn't make the finals, you may have to provide some players.
Is that right?
Well, potentially.
As I said, I'll have to read up about it, mate. I've got no idea.
We haven't seen you since the Queen's birthday. Very
Yeah.
much a near miss.
Yeah.
What have you been doing? What's been the focus for you guys?
Well, preparing for Port, that's largely been our focus. When you lose a game, or when you get to the other side of a game of footy, you review very quickly and you take the lessons out of it, and then you get set for your next opportunity. So we've had this Saturday in our sights for longer than normal, a 12-day prep. Our players have presented really well early this week, and we're looking forward to jumping into it.
Okay, it's a chance to reset and sort of take stock the week off. What are your thoughts heading into sort of launching into this make or break sort of 10-week?
Yeah, no, we haven't seen it like that. It's just that this is our next game. We have been in relatively consistent form that has put us in winning positions more often than not. And we need to bring that type of footy and then better it to be able to turn those close losses into wins against any opposition. So, and there's not a lot of margin for error. So we're just going to take every opportunity as it comes.
What did you make of Pendle's comments about 2011? It's obviously getting a bit of traction today.
Yeah.
Is there any truth in that? Do you think that?
I wasn't out with them.
No, I'm not suggesting that.
That would be a story.
Yeah, I would have thought that most of that, happens in and around the playing group, and in and around the locker room. To be honest, it's and as such, Pendles would have a really good cider on it, wouldn't he? It's 6 years ago now, so it's not really something we dwell on too much.